Our top story, the 25-day winter session of Parliament, during which 36 bills are expected to be passed, including the one to cancel the farm laws, begins today. The opposition is likely to corner the government on issues including the Pegasus row and price rise. The Farm Laws Repeal Bill has been listed for introduction and passage in the Lok Sabha on the first day. In fact, it's expected around noon. It will be introduced by the Union Agriculture Minister, Narendra Singh Tomar. The ruling BJP and opposition Congress have issued whips to their MPs to be present on the day. The other bills to be passed in this session include the crucial cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill, insolvency and bankruptcy bill, and the electricity bill. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday skipped the all-party meeting that had been called ahead of the session to discuss the session. Now, farmers too will be watching the proceedings very closely after the Prime Minister's announcement that the three laws will be repealed. Farmer groups have said they don't believe so far and would like to see the bills actually being repealed. They've also raised fresh demands on the minimum support price in a bid to end their protest, which has been going on since November last year. So more demands by the farmers. Now, cracks in opposition unity. The Trinamool Congress will not participate in a meeting called by the Congress party, sources have told NDTV. The Goa unit of the party wants them to stay away from any direct meeting as they're fighting both the Congress and the BJP in the state, they said. The Trinamool Congress leaders, who did not want to be named, said there would be opposition unity on the floor of the House, but attendance at morning meetings and being seen together would be difficult. Leader of opposition and Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge called for a meeting of all opposition parties this morning in his chambers on the floor coordination. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we mentioned, skipped the all-party meeting that was called by the government on Sunday, a day before the start of the winter session. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal were present from the government side. The opposition, however, was not amused.
The customary all-party meeting of the government before the winter session of Parliament, but with the notable absentee, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The government was represented by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi.
सिर्फ और सिर्फ पार्लियामेंट अफेयर्स मंत्रालय, पार्लियामेंट अफेयर्स मंत्री ये मीटिंग बुलाता था। माननीय मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बनने के बाद वो इस मीटिंग में आने का एक परंपरा शुरू किया है, इस बार नहीं आ पाए हैं।
The opposition questioned the Prime Minister's absence, raising the list of demands. A legal guarantee for the MSP, compensation for families of farmers who died during the protest, sacking of Union Minister Ajay Mishra Teni, and rising fuel prices and tension with China.
उसमें उन्होंने ये भी कहा था कि कानून तो ठीक है, मैं लोगों को समझा नहीं पाया। तो इसका मतलब यही होता है कि कानून आज ना कल किसी और रूप में आ जाएगा। एक डर हमको भी है। तो हम ये पूछना चाहते थे, अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर यहाँ आते।
TMC's Derek O'Brien tweeted, government refused to discuss Pegasus on the floor of Parliament in the monsoon session, and then the Supreme Court spoke. Government brutally bulldozed farm bills in Parliament, and then farmers won. Today, at an all-party meeting before winter session, we did spot-splattered eggs on the government's face. Aam Aadmi Party Sanjay Singh walked out of the meeting saying he was not allowed to raise the demand for the MSP for farmers in this session.
यहाँ पर ये हालत है कि किसी भी सदस्य को बोलने नहीं देते, किसी को अपनी बात रखने नहीं देते। मैं किसानों का मुद्दा उठा रहा था, मैंने साफ तौर पे कहा कि भाई MSP की गारंटी का कानून इसी सत्र में लेके आइए।
Opposition unity is unlikely to be the same as it was in the monsoon session. While opposition parties are planning for a united flow coordination on the floor of the House, they don't want to be seen publicly together because of the upcoming state elections. Clearly, this gives an opportunity for the government to push through key legislations. With camera person Ashok Male, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
News from the northeast now, and the BJP swept the civic polls in Tripura, held amid a bitter feud with the Trinamool Congress, bagging 217 of the 222 seats on which elections were held on the 25th of November. The CPM has won 3 seats. The Trinamool and Tipra Motha have 1 seat each. Of the 334 total seats, including AMC with 51 wards, 13 municipal councils and 6 Nagar Panchayats, the BJP has won 329, having been elected unopposed in 112 seats earlier. Polling took place on November 25th. And the Prime Minister had tweeted, the people of Tripura have given a clear message that they prefer politics of good governance. I would like to thank them. Trinamool Congress, while conceding, tweeted, this is only the beginning. We thank the people of Tripura and Ma Tripureshwari for blessing us abundantly. Despite rigging, threats, violence, we stand firmly as the strongest opposition in the state. Well, on to COVID news now. International passengers must submit 14 days travel history and upload negative COVID test results, is what the government has said. Travellers from countries that are deemed at risk will also undergo a mandatory 7-day home quarantine if they test negative for the virus, the Union Health Ministry said in revised travel guidelines for international passengers in view of Omicron, the new variant of COVID that has been classified as a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. Passengers will have to submit a self-declaration form on the online Air Suvidha portal and include travel history for the past 2 weeks. Now, the new guidelines come into effect from the 1st of December. Travellers from 12 at-risk countries will be subjected to testing and extra surveillance. Earlier, we spoke to Shonakshi for more details.
Well, the international passengers entering into India from the 1st of December, the Union Health Ministry of India has decided to revise these travel guidelines for these international passengers in view of a worrying trend emerging out of a new variant of COVID called the Omicron. Now, what is new here is that passengers, international passengers, will have to submit a self-declaration form, including their travel history of the last 14 days before they enter into India. The second main point here is that those who will have to enter into India will have to upload a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR test. This remains constant for every passenger entering into India. But another very important point to remind our viewers here is that there are 12 at-risk countries which the Union Health Ministry has listed out. Those 12 at-risk countries, the passengers coming in from those countries will be subjected to extra and an enhanced surveillance and testing because they are coming in from countries which are at risk. This will include testing at the airport, and so one person cannot leave the airport in India till such time they have been tested negative. Now, interestingly, even if they have tested negative, they will still have to continue with self-monitoring and quarantine after that. So an international passenger coming in from an at-risk country will be subjected to that extra surveillance. Those coming in from not at-risk countries, excluding these at-risk countries, will still have to monitor themselves. They will be allowed to leave the airport, but they will still be quarantined for 7 days, and they will also have to self-monitor from the 8th day with a COVID-19 negative RT-PCR test. So all in all, the bottom line here is that that India has decided to revise its international guidelines for international passengers from the 1st of December, given a worrying trend emerging out of the Omicron variant of the COVID-19.
How much more transmissible is the new variant of COVID?
At this moment, we have no data to say whether it's more transmissible or more lethal. But all we know is that a very large number of mutations have accumulated in this particular variant. There are 26 new mutants on the spike protein alone which are unique to Omicron, which are not there in any of the other variants that we know. For example, we know, beta, gamma, delta and all. Each of them had some unique mutations to them. And the number of mutations that has accumulated is so large that at this moment we are also not able to trace its lineage to the parent strain where it came from. So there's a worry, but at this moment the clinical correlation on whether it's really more transmissible or whether it's more lethal, that's still awaited by some solid evidence.
Okay. Dr. Joshi, your views, the question is this: does greater transmissibility mean greater severity of this variant of COVID?
So one thing is clear, that first time on planet Earth the Delta is threatened. the most dominant strain in the last 6 months has been Delta. So Beta got totally replaced by Delta in South Africa. And the documentation that this strain is more transmissible comes from the fact that in the last 2 weeks, in fact in 10 days, the entire Delta, whatever little bacha-kucha, Beta and Alpha was in South Africa is 100% replaced by Omicron. And that is why the WHO claimed it as a variant of concern directly. So one thing is sure, as far as South Africa is concerned, it is the most dominant strain as of now. So it is clearly more transmissible, and the R0 is likely to be more than the Delta, which was around 8 to 11 like chickenpox. So it is going to spread faster than chickenpox. But our conversations with Dr. Andrea Koech and the group in the Commonwealth Association yesterday, and I am personally known to her, she has told very clearly that whatever patients they have seen in South Africa are all having mild disease. And it's only the next 2 to 4 weeks, because the disease is only 10 days old to 15 days old there, that will really tell us whether there will be severe disease in vulnerable groups, immunosuppressed groups, whether they will go on ventilator. So next 2 to 4 weeks clinically are crucial.
Okay.
So Professor Mande is absolutely right that we don't know whether it will be more virulent, whether it will be more fatal. But you know, the Delta and Beta had only 2 or 3 mutations. This has more than 50 mutations.
In other news now, a 23-year-old Dalit man has been arrested in the case involving the murder of a scheduled caste family in UP's Prayagraj. The local police claim that he carried out the murders along with unidentified accomplices. The police also say the daughter who was raped and killed was not a minor, and that sections of the POCSO Act have been removed from the case. Now, the police say the man who they arrested lives in a brick kiln behind the victim's house, and he had been harassing the young woman. The bodies of the family of 4 were found in their home on Thursday morning. The police had said they were attacked with a sharp weapon, and the girl's body had been found in a room inside the house. The other 3 bodies were found in the courtyard. This case had been politicized, with Priyanka Gandhi Vadra also speaking out for justice for the family.
एक अभियुक्त पवन सरोज, ये लगभग 23 वर्ष का है और ये सजातीय है, मृतक पक्ष की जाति का है। इनके द्वारा लगातार लड़की को परेशान किया जा रहा था, मोबाइल पर मैसेज दिए जा रहे थे और लड़की द्वारा उसको अस्वीकार किया जा रहा था, बार बार उसको मना किया जा रहा था। अंतिम मैसेज के आधार पर और सर्कमस्टेंशियल एविडेंस के आधार पर पवन सरोज की गिरफ्तारी की गई है और इनके द्वारा अभी विवेचना में सहयोग नहीं किया जा रहा है, लेकिन अभी तक ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है कि इनके द्वारा कुछ लोगों के सहयोग से हत्या की गई थी। जो पोक्सो की धाराएं हैं वो भी इसमें कम की जा रही हैं।
Time for a break. On the other side, we take a look at Tamil Nadu, where more heavy rain has been forecast. Welcome back. A demographic shift in India. There are now more women than men in the country. The total fertility rate in India has dropped to 2, the lowest ever, the lower than national replacement rate of 2.1 children per woman, an indication that our population is now stabilizing. Now, there have been big indicators that have emerged from the National Family Health Survey 2019-21. Here's a special report from Punjab that looks at the sex ratio statistics.
According to the National Family Health Survey 2019-21 released by the Government of India, there has been a significant improvement in family planning and sex ratio. But in Chandigarh, which has the lowest fertility rate, the big concern is sex ratio. The use of family planning methods is up from 54% to 67%. There are now more women than men in India. 1,020 women for every 1,000 men. Let's take a look at the state-wise breakup of the fertility rate. The 5 states with fertility rate above 2 are Bihar, Meghalaya, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and Manipur. The 5 states with the lowest fertility rate are Punjab, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Even though Chandigarh's total fertility rate was marked as 1.4 in the National Family Health Survey 2020-21, experts say acceptance to family planning methods is still very low.
जो NFHS 4 का डाटा था उसके तुलना में थोड़ी सी मार्जिनल रिडक्शन है फैमिली प्लानिंग एक्सेप्टेंस बढ़ी नहीं है. So there is cross reduction in marriage before 18 years. तो ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है. उसी से एसोसिएटेड है टीनेज प्रेगनेंसी एंड एडोलेसेंस फर्टिलिटी रेट. इसमें सब्सटेंशियल रिडक्शन है. तो ये एक सक्सेस स्टोरी है.
But the bigger concern is the sex ratio at birth in Chandigarh, which has dropped 14% to 838 females for every 1,000 males. Meanwhile, the Union Territory Health Department has questioned the report and claimed that they are compiling their own data.
जहाँ तक मैंने अपने यहाँ पे डॉक्टर्स से बात किया, उनका कहना है कि कहीं ना कहीं कुछ डाटा का अभी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि ये डाटा कहाँ से लिया गया है. 925-30 के आसपास का कहीं का एवरेज हमारे डाटा के हिसाब से है, जो हमने गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स में कुछ रखा हुआ है. तो इसको एनालाइज कर रहे हैं. मैं अभी ये तो नहीं कहूँगा कि वो रिपोर्ट गलत है. हम तो ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि हमको इसको देखना है.
While the sex ratio for the total population has increased from 991 to 1,020 for every 1,000 men, the sex ratio at birth saw only a marginal improvement from 919 to 929, so boys continue to have a better chance of survival than girls. With Mohammad Ghazali in Chandigarh, Bureau Report, NDTV.
News now from Tamil Nadu, and schools and colleges in 7 districts of the state, including state capital Chennai, are closed today in anticipation of heavy rain. The India Meteorological Department forecasts very heavy rainfall in Tirunelveli and Kanyakumari districts and heavy rainfall in Ramanathapuram and Thoothukudi. Heavy rain has been lashing Chennai and other coastal districts in the state, with several parts of the state facing very high levels of flooding. Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story, the 25-day winter session of Parliament, during which 36 bills are expected to be passed, including one to cancel the farm laws, begins today. The opposition is likely to corner the government on issues including the Pegasus row and price rise. The Farm Laws Repeal Bill has been listed for introduction and passage in the Lok Sabha on the first day itself. It will be introduced by the Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar. The ruling BJP and opposition Congress have issued whips to their MPs to be present on day one. The other bills to be passed in this session include the crucial cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill, the insolvency and bankruptcy bill, and the electricity amendment bill. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday skipped the all-party meeting that had been called ahead of this session to discuss all issues. And farmers too will be very closely watching the developments and proceedings in Parliament. After the Prime Minister's announcement that the 3 laws would be repealed, some farmer groups said that they didn't believe it and would wait to see the bills actually being repealed. They've also raised fresh demands, which includes a minimum support price, in a bid to end their protest, which has been going on now since November last year. Also, cracks in opposition unity have emerged over the last couple of days. The Trinamool Congress will not participate in any meeting called by the Congress party, sources have told NDTV. The Goa unit of the party wants them to stay away from any direct meeting, as they're fighting both the Congress and BJP in the state. Trinamool Congress leaders, who didn't want to be named, said there would be opposition unity on the floor of the House, but that attendance at morning meetings and being seen together would be difficult. Leader of opposition and Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge has called for a meeting of all opposition parties in his chambers today morning on the floor coordination between opposition parties. Well, let's go across to Sunil Prabhu for more. And Sunil, the winter session begins today, and on day one, the very controversial farm laws, the process to repeal them will begin.
That's right. I don't know why we should say controversial, Gargi, because the fact is that the government understood one way or the other that the repeal was required. Whether there will be a discussion on the floor of the House is something that we have to watch, And it's in that context the government has gone ahead and would like to pass it in both houses today.
All right. And also, Sunil, what of this opposition unity, the fact that Trinamool Congress will be skipping this meeting called by Mallikarjun Kharge of opposition parties?
Well, Gargi, I have been speaking to a series of opposition leaders who will be part of what is called an opposition united front. Unlike the monsoon session where you saw, both within the House as well as outside the House, there was a great bonhomie. They showed their public unity. but because of assembly elections, and you'll understand that in Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party is fighting the BJP as well as the Congress, as well as the BSP. So to be seen, together, the Trinamool Congress in Goa, the Goa unit does not want them to be seen with the Congress, because then they'll be seen what's the problem really in terms of an alliance. So that's the critical factors that are affecting opposition unity in terms of a public show. After calling a meeting, Mr. Kharge is unlikely to get a number of representatives from the Trinamool Congress, or for that matter from the AAP, as well as the Samajwadi Party. As I said, assembly elections are uppermost in their minds, which is due early next year. So having said that, but on the floor of the House, there will definitely be unity. They will show solidarity amongst each other to take on the Narendra Modi government. But outside, that public show of strength is unlikely.
And Sunil, we spoke about the farm laws being repealed. What are the other key bills in this session?
Well, one which has really taken public interest as well as media interest to a great extent is the cryptocurrency bill, as you're well aware. Those contours we have already put out in February last year, in this year. And it's in that context we haven't seen anything forward movement. The government says it's been listed, but as of now, what exactly those contours are haven't been, and whether a fresh cabinet note will be moved is something that we will have to wait. The other critical factor, of course, is the decision to extend the tenures of the ED as well as CBI director, those ordinances that had been promulgated. There is also a comprehensive the narcotics drug bill which is going to be introduced, the banking laws which has not been listed officially but is expected to be passed, where they're planning to bring down from 51 to 26%. These are some of the key legislations which the government is expected to bring. The opposition, of course, wants a discussion on a host of issues which affect the people, including which affects you and me. Price rise, the rise in petrol prices. These are things that they would like to discuss. We'll have to wait and see what the business advisory committees decide and how they go about it. Apart from, of course, I think there's a unanimous demand that the Minister for State for Home, Mr. Ajay Mishra, should resign, as well as, of course, various other contentious issues which they believe, for example, the MSP on legal guarantees for farmers should be ensured through a legislation.
All right, Sunil, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So Parliament's winter session begins later today. Now moving on to news of the coronavirus and the new variant. International passengers must now submit 14 days travel history and upload negative COVID test results, is what the government has said. Travellers from countries deemed at risk will also undergo a mandatory 7-day home quarantine if they test negative for the virus. The Union Health Ministry said in revised travel guidelines for international passengers in view of Omicron, the new variant of COVID that has been classified as a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. Passengers will have to submit a self-declaration form on the online Air Suvidha portal and include travel history for their past 2 weeks. The new guidelines come into effect from the 1st of December. Travellers from 12 at-risk countries will be subjected to testing and extra surveillance. Earlier we spoke to Shonakshi for more.
Well, the international passengers entering into India from the 1st of December, the Union Health Ministry of India has decided to revise these travel guidelines for these international passengers in view of a worrying trend emerging out of a new variant of COVID called the Omicron. Now, what is new here is that international passengers, will have to submit a self-declaration form, including their travel history of the last 14 days before they enter into India. The second main point here is that those who will have to enter into India will have to upload a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR test. This remains constant for every passenger entering into India. But another very important point to remind our viewers here is that there are 12 at-risk countries which the Union Health Ministry has listed out. Those 12 at-risk countries, the passengers coming in from those countries will be subjected to extra and an enhanced surveillance and testing because they are coming in from countries which are at risk. This will include testing at the airport, and so one person cannot leave the airport in India till such time they have been tested negative. Now, interestingly, even if they've tested negative, they will still have to continue with self-monitoring and quarantine after that. So an international passenger coming in from an at-risk country will be subjected to that extra surveillance. Those coming in from not at-risk countries, excluding these at-risk countries, will still have to monitor themselves. They will be allowed to leave the airport, but they will still be quarantined for 7 days, and they will also have to self-monitor from the 8th day with a COVID-19 negative RT-PCR test. So all in all, the bottom line here is that that India has decided to revise its international guidelines for international passengers from the 1st of December, given a worrying trend emerging out of the Omicron variant of the COVID-19.
Now, a meeting was held a day after the high-level review by Prime Minister Modi on the new variant Omicron. After a long hiatus of more than 20 months, the government had just this week, in fact, on November 26th, announced the resumption of scheduled international commercial flights from December 15th. The centre has now asked all states to step up intensive containment and active surveillance, as well as better vaccination coverage amid worries over the new strain. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan has written to all states and union territories over Omicron variant, asking them to enforce intensive containment, active surveillance measures and increase coverage of the vaccine. So as concerns over the outbreak of this variant rise, the Mumbai civic body, the BMC, has so far traced 466 travellers who arrived at the Mumbai airport from countries of concern in the last 2 weeks. Of these, 97 people are from Mumbai. None of them have tested positive for COVID yet. However, a man who returned from South Africa in Thane district adjoining Mumbai tested positive, but it hasn't been confirmed yet if he was carrying this particular variant, Omicron, which is a mutated version of the virus. Well, to talk more about, the variant and concerns in India, we're now joined by Dr. Rahul Pandit, member of the National Task Force, member Maharashtra COVID Task Force, and Dr. Padma Srivastav, Chief Neurosciences Center, AIIMS. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us this morning. And Dr. Pandit, if we go according to what the World Health Organization has just said, so far they're saying they don't know whether it's more infectious, they don't know whether it causes more severe disease, but what is concerning is that they have said it can cause reinfections among people who've had COVID.
Good morning. I agree with what's been said, because it may be too early to actually make a lot of assumptions about how the virus is going to pan out in terms of its infectivity, its virulence, as well as the severity of the disease. However, what we know from the initial reports is that it probably is likely to reinfect people. It probably is more infectious than the Delta variant. If you remember, when the Delta Plus came in, we had all these talks which we are doing today exactly in the same way. So we just need to give itself some time to actually come up with a conclusive answer whether it indeed is 4 times or 5 times more infectious than the current Delta variant or not. What we for sure know is that within a span of 7 to 10 days, in some of the provinces in South Africa, it has completely replaced the Delta variant. Now, Delta was such a robust variant that it did not allow anybody to stand in front of itself. It replaced the Alpha and Beta completely. So if this variant could replace the Delta variant quite effectively, it does need a lot of caution to be actually looked at, and we need to be very, very clear in what statements we are going to make based on the available evidence. So not to speculate, just wait for the evidence to emerge so that we can be very, very conclusive.
Right. Dr. Padma Srivastav, something that the WHO has said that is reassuring is that the RT-PCR test can detect this virus, the infection from this virus. So that is some good news. But we still don't know about, the vaccines and how effective they are against this particular variant. Already, if they're saying it causes reinfection, that is something of a worry.
Absolutely, that's true, Gargi. In fact, when they try to analyze the reasons why there's been a spike of infections again in Europe and other parts of the world, where that vaccinations per se, there is probably not that kind of a percentage which has, what is desirable. The other is that there is a vaccine escape route for this kind of a variant. And also, the fact that there has been a relaxation of all kinds amongst us and COVID appropriate behavior, as well as probably relaxation of the norms given by the administration across those countries. Said that though, it is true that even the vaccine makers are making, sort of a Herculean effort right now to tweak the vaccine to become effective against this Omicron variant. We have news coming up from at least 2 of such the manufacturers who are trying to do that. So there is already efforts on so that the vaccine could be tweaked to even attack this variant. And as Dr. Pandit very succinctly said, that it's important to really to understand that we're still on a learning curve, though we are armed with the earlier experience. So probably we need to have a more expeditious response this time, that we're not heading towards that kind of, the spike that happened with Delta variant. And again, we also have some news that, yes, at least in South Africa, that as Dr. Pandit said, that this is sort of replacing the Delta variant in the sense that Delta variant didn't allow other things to happen, and this Omicron seems to sort of beat it. And the infections are going up, but then we do not know the severity, as it is said. So there are some reports coming that, at least from that part of the world, that is a severity the same. But having said that, we do not know. So we definitely need to have a caution index very, very high, and hope that it doesn't take over and cause more severe disease. Yes.
Right. Dr. Pandit, so in this situation where if we talk about, the vaccine coverage so far in India, we're still very far from covering, 60% of the adult population by the end of the year. But at the same time, many people who've taken the vaccine, it's been more than 6-8 months, and they're concerned now and again, that the talk of allowing booster doses of the vaccine is taking place. We're also hearing about how a lot of private hospitals have a stock of vaccines just lying with them.
So Gargi, my take on that is that this is a wake-up call for everyone who has not taken any dose of vaccine or who have missed their second dose. I think they better get that jab done now, ASAP. About the booster dose, I think there is already a discussion going on at the highest level in Government of India to discuss about that. When the data emerges, I think they will categorize the population which would benefit from it the most, which would probably be immunocompromised and